simp. A pimp, not a simp. A pimp, not a simp. We eat so many shrimp. I got iodine partners.
My bitch a choosing lover, never fuck without a rubber. Never in the sheets like it on top of the cover. Money on the dresser, drive a compressor. Top notch hoes get the most, not the lesser. Trash like the buck for $40 in the club. Fucking up the game, bitch, it gets no love. She be cross country, giving all that she got. 1,000 a pop, I'm pulling business off the lot. I smashed up the gray one, bought me a red. Every time we hit the parking lot, we turn head. Some hoes wanna choose, but them bitches too scary. Your bitch chose me, you ain't a pimp, you a fairy.
A pimp, not a simp. A pimp, not a simp. A pimp, not a simp. We eat so many shrimp. I got iodine partners.
Baby, you been rolling solo, time to get down with the team. The grass is greener on that other side. If you know what I mean, I show you shit you never seen. The 7 wonders of the world. And I can make you the 8 if you wanna be my girl. I say my girl, I don't mean my woman, that ain't my style. Need a real street stalker to walk a green mile. I'm piling up the paper on the dining room table, cause you able to realize I'm the truth and not a fable. Baby, rockin' Russian sable, keep that chiller on the rack. What I look like with some $1,000 shit up on my back. I'm $1 million man that need $1 billion bitch. Put my pimpin' in your life, watch your daddy get rich. Easy as ABC, simple as 1, 2, 3. Get down with UGK, Pimp CBU with B. Cause what's a hoe with no pimp, and what's a pimp with no hoe? Don't be a lame, you know the game and how it goes. We try to get toes.
A pimp, not a simp. A pimp, not a simp. A pimp, not a simp. We eat so many shrimp. I got iodine partners.
Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. It is Artie of Artie's Corporate Fiction. Nice to see you guys. Feels like I haven't streamed in a minute, but we'll start off with some, news bites. I'm back from vacation. I had a fantastic time with family. I had a good birthday. We went to a schnazzy steakhouse, and on Saturday, my friends from down there took me to Fogo de Chao for lunch. So I've had enough red meat to last me a good while. Suffice to say. And then we Alex and we streamed, had fun. Technical difficulties notwithstanding, it happens. But we already said that we want to do this again. Sooner rather than later. Next, what else? Oh, I like how all my birthday gifts is just straight up Amazon gift cards. My parents, they all know me well. They all know like most of my disposable income goes to Amazon these days. So maybe I'll just save up for an automatic cat litter box or something that I was thinking of getting. Who knows? There's another bit of housekeeping that I was looking at. I was wanting to mention to beyond my break, but I can't remember what it was. I'm sure I'll figure it out later on. Anyway, the reason for tonight is another event that happened on Saturday, which is not very good, is that there was a shooting that took place in Polk County. It involved a Moorish sovereign citizen. There's no real doubt about that, given what we're about to see. And I'm going to say that, I guess part of me was thinking, when I was thinking about when I was watching some of the press conferences, I got my first initial impression was that the individual, the suspect, he didn't sound like he didn't sound like he had the background of what you think would be somebody that would fall into the sovereign citizen rabbit hole. I won't spoil it, but upon further reflection, I mean, if I'm going to say that there's a lot of parallels between sovereign citizen ideology and cultish behavior, of which there are. Romana Didulo is one of them. David Straight is one of them, and like the Moorish ideology can definitely fall into that as well. The more specific sovereign citizen ideology can fall into that as well. So maybe it isn't that it shouldn't be that shocking that somebody would fall down this path. It's unfortunate, but you know, that's what happens if you pull guns on 7 sheriff's deputies, with 2 of them still, I believe, in serious condition or more. I think we're gonna watch Sheriff Grady's second press conference that he posted a day ago. There, he has a lot more details on first of all the status of the sheriff's deputies, as well as the more details on the sovereign citizen in question. So I want to take a look at that, and I'll pause, and I'll kind of want to look at his ID more specifically, and also kind of give my thoughts on, his background and what my understanding of where sovereign citizens come from in terms of like, what kind of catalyst may have brought him to this point. Push it over here. And this is the press conference from April 29th, yesterday, 2024.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being with me today. We're going to go over this entire event and then bring you up to speed with what we know now that certainly we didn't have the details of the other night. First and foremost, I want to introduce you to 2.
Persnickety, yes. Yes, this is completely separate from the Charlotte, North Carolina event, which is a whole other type of mess. Yeah, this is completely separate from that.
2 heroes. This is Lieutenant Chad Anderson and Deputy Craig Smith. They both went to back up Deputy Conover, and this occurred on Saturday morning about 12:22 in the Hunt Fountain Park on Duff Road in North Lakeland. Deputy Conover was working the area because we had some burglaries in the area. Gangbangers, kids, teenagers, flipped door handles, looking for cash, credit cards, and guns. And there had been some of those in the area. We also had a burglary of the concession stand at the park recently. So Deputy Conover was doing what she should when she saw a white Mercedes-Benz in the parking lot. She checked on the person there, and the person just barely rolled the window down, talking to her when she asked, "Would you show me your driver's license? Tell me who you are." He wouldn't respond. He wouldn't get out of the car. He wouldn't cooperate. She noticed that he was dressed all in white, as if he were in some kind of religious or cult garb. He certainly wasn't in normal street clothes. So she called for backup, and that's when Deputy Craig Smith, Lieutenant Anderson, who were both shot, as well as Deputy Bolito and his trainee, and we also had Natalie Ostrich, who is K9, back them up. So now there's a total with the trainees of 7 deputies there.
Okay, so there's 7. Okay, that's I think I recall. So 7 deputies were there at the time.
So Craig Smith, Chad Anderson go to the door and say, "Hey, look, man." They tried to talk to him. You've got to identify yourself. You've got to come out and talk to us. And he wouldn't. And his car started rolling. They grabbed the window, and all of a sudden.
So I'm sure he'll go into more. I'm sure he'll talk about a bit more about what was said, but more than likely was the standard sovereign citizen license, registration, insurance. I think he says that he only rolled down his window 2 inches, refused to give it. We could probably assume like the kind of dialogue that was going in. I'm traveling, not driving. I'm a Moorish American, not subject to the corporate entity known as the state of Florida, yada, yada, yada.
He started shooting. We know now that he shot 5 times. We saw 5 empty casings. He struck Lieutenant Chad Anderson in the left arm. It went through the arm and into his chest cavity. The projectile lodged between his heart and his spinal column.
Oh my God.
He was fractions of an inch from either being paralyzed from the chest down or killed if it had have gone into his heart or struck any of those major arteries in that area. He went down, but he got 2 shots off before he went down. Craig Smith, Deputy Smith, was not able to shoot because he was shot, and as I reported, there were 4 gunshot wounds in him. After clearly evaluating him and the medical procedures, he was shot twice. So what we were looking at was in and out holes. So he was shot twice in his right arm and he went down. Deputy Bolito and our canine deputy Ostrich returned shots. There was a gunfight. There were 38 shots fired. We hit the suspect 8 times, and he was immediately deceased. So now we rush everyone to the hospital. Lieutenant Chad Anderson has had 2 surgeries. He's still in critical but stable condition. Craig Smith, when he originally went in, was in critical but stable condition, and he has now been upgraded. Obviously, Lieutenant Anderson is still in intensive care, and Deputy Craig Smith has been upgraded and moved to a different floor. But I want to talk to you for just a minute.
So as far as I see, Polk County Sheriff's deputies do have body cameras. In terms of like how long does it take to release? Obviously it will depend. I can't imagine it will take that long, given that the suspect is deceased and not in custody. So it's not like it would be part of like a long ongoing investigation. But I imagine it might be relatively soon, as in maybe in the next couple of weeks.
About the suspect. And I want to show you what we found in his car. First, the firearm that he used to shoot my deputies.
Vince, thank you for the 1 month membership.
And to shoot at the other deputies. It's a Springfield Arms XD 9mm. And in addition to being a loaded firearm, he also had 2 more loaded magazines in the door partition to his left. So he could have had a small gun battle with what he had alone. In the back seat, he had this is a Ruger 1022 converted to an AR-15. In a backpack, he had a fully loaded 40mm firearm handgun. So let me introduce you to our suspect that tried to murder my deputies, did his best. This is K-Mac Elbay. He's 26.
Okay, I thought he was 23, so he's 26.
That's the name that he has taken on because, you see, he identifies as Moorish. He uses the number 13, lion-hearted, on his Florida driver's license. Beside his signature, he has written ARR.
So this is an odd one. He said that he does have a Florida driver's license, but he wrote or he marked on it ARR, all rights reserved.
All rights reserved. He's currently homeless. He was evicted from a place in Hillsborough County. He has been moving around. In Pinellas County, he was asked to leave a business area apparently last month. We talked to his mother. She said, I don't know this person. She said, I know Kyron Caples, C-A-P-L-E-S. Kyron Caples is my son. He went to Fresno State after 3 years of college and in studying business. He left. He apparently was radicalized while he was at Fresno State.
So that's kind of where I'm like, man, I mean, a sovereign citizen getting radicalized in college? I don't know. Maybe I'm not used to hearing that. But at the same time, like, I don't. Maybe why should I be surprised? I mean, people can get radicalized, in all different circumstances. I mean, I immediately thought to myself, like, well, I mean, those incel shooters were completely radicalized by looking up stuff online and going into Reddit forums and other things like that. So it's not entirely impossible for even somebody who's attending college to get radicalized purely off of online. Purely online.
She said, I raised him as a Christian boy. He was a good man. We found that he didn't have a criminal history.
No criminal history is also pretty significant. And the reason I say that is because usually violent sovereign citizens, I feel like they tend to have had prior violent criminal histories. I'm probably, exposing some of my biases here, but maybe I could be completely off on that assumption. But it's just one of those things where it's like you go from zero criminal history to just, I'm gonna go in a gunfight with 7 sheriff's deputies.
Suspended driver's license. So the person that his mother knew and loved, and she'd not seen him in 3 years since he left California.
Okay, she hadn't seen him in 3 years.
That's where she lives. Until we got that fateful call, she had talked to him and had communicated with him and had on occasion sent him money when he needed help. But she says she doesn't know who this K-Mac Elbay is, but that's who he goes by now.
So I agree, Temple. Thank you. So it sounds like either he was hiding, he was hiding his ideology, or maybe 3 years since she talked to 3 years since she last talked to him, that's when he fell off. Erica, yes. I mean, he had no prior criminal history, so he owned those firearms lawfully. I mean,
Here's his identification card. His Moorish ID.
So there is his ID. I wonder if I don't know if they're going to zoom in on that.
Identification card. He's a sovereign citizen. The Moorish rejects federal, state, and local law. They don't have to obey it. They're extremist. They're anti-government. They have a potential for violence toward law enforcement.
It's
and
possible.
I'll harken you back, and those of you who have been reporters around here for a while, remember in 2017, on the I-4 corridor, 3 police officers were shot and killed. A sergeant with the Orlando Police Department, a sergeant with the Kissimmee Police Department, and on that same day, an officer with the Kissimmee Police Department. They were shot by 2 separate Moorish people, all in 2017.
What? Hold on. I shooting Florida. Three police officers were killed. Florida, 3 officers killed. I can't find it. I'm not seeing. I'm mostly getting what happened in Charlotte and other stuff. 20. Oh, let's put in 2017. Is this it? No. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm very curious about this incident that he's referring to. Moorish shooting, 2017, Florida. 3 officers killed. Maybe I'll probably have to go find it later. Kissimmee, Florida. KISSIMME. What I'm seeing is these officers who were ambushed. In 2017, but the news reports don't say anything about him being a Moorish sovereign citizen. Oh, I think I found it. I think I found it, but based on this article, it doesn't sound like he was a Moor. Oh wait, no. Yes, okay, never mind. Yes, this is it. Everett Miller. That's his name. And he did. Yeah. He ambushed he ambushed two officers. Yeah, I have it here. His name is Everett Miller.
And now let's fast forward to 2024, and K-Mac tried to murder 2 of my police officers. In addition to their violent activity, they're known for trying to file paperwork. For example, they have filed an arrest warrant for me in the Moorish world
Naturally.
with a $1 million bond,
Ha!
as well as some of my other deputies. Not this person, but other Moorish people. We make frequent arrests of these citizens, these Moorish citizens, but we don't publish them because we don't want to market for them. But let me read something to you for just a second. This is an example. Now, here's his ID card, and this is a sample of a card that he had, so that when they want to hand it to you,
So Moor's Divine Movement, MXM, aka America.
it would say, and you'll get the mindset, this is a valid and lawful form of identification. See United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, Articles 2 and 33, Section 1. You're being put on notice that any unlawful act against an indigenous Yahundum Moor is a federal crime, and
Yahudim, I imagine that's how it's pronounced.
you will be
Yahudium.
$750,000 or more. Any violation of my rights, well-being, or property is your express agreement to be held officially and privately liable for $750,000 for each violation of the bearer's rights in each capacity. If detaining the bearer, you also expressly agree to the fee schedule of $90,000
Fee schedule.
per hour upon any unlawful detainment and violation of the bearer's right. Payment is due immediately in lawful money. So,
By the way, taking an action is not an express agreement.
you get an idea of what we're dealing with when we're dealing with these Moorish sovereign citizens. They're dangerous, and you don't know when. There's been other occasions where they're not dangerous at all. They just file papers illegally. And if you hearken back to a few years ago, the Florida legislature had to create a new set of laws so that if they tried to go down and file liens against judges or clerks.
It's not just Florida. A whole bunch of states, if not most states by now, have put in false lien criminal statutes.
That was a criminal event and they could be arrested, and there had to be a mechanism to easily clean those liens and legal paperwork out. We've talked to the mother twice of our suspect, at least twice. I call him, because this is his given name that he wants us to use, K-Mac El Bay. But for Mom's benefit, we've talked to Kyron Cable's mom. She is a wonderful lady. She is totally in shock. And she said,
I think any mother would be. I can't imagine what she's going through. She lost her child, but I can't imagine like what the hell happened. Like what happened in the last 3 years that led to this.
As she's going to fly in at some point in time, she wants to meet with the deputies and apologize for her son shooting them. That's a good person. She understands the gravity of what occurred. Are there any questions?
Are those guns registered to him?
We don't know where the guns came from. You don't have to register guns in Florida. They are not stolen. At least they're not in the computer as stolen. And he is not a convicted felon, so he has the right to possess the firearm, or had the right to possess the firearm.
Yes, persnickety.
Conversion, is that legal?
It is legal. That conversion kit comes with that model weapon. Okay.
So these sovereign citizens, I've seen videos where they'll actually follow law enforcement, and follow them around. Is this guy known for following law enforcement? Do you feel like he actually targeted these particular deputies?
We see nothing at all. And here's the most senseless part of this. Well, when you look through this Moorish rhetoric, that's pretty senseless. But he was in a park that was closed. Had he simply identified himself when we found he had a suspended license, he couldn't have driven off. We didn't have to bring any criminal charges against him. More than likely, we would have said, hey, let's get somebody to give you a ride. And that would have been the end of it. Probably not even a citation for being in the park after dark. He was not who we were looking for. We were looking for teenagers that were running through neighborhoods at night flipping door handles. He was not a target. He was not a problem until he made himself a problem. And I think that's what shocks his mother, and quite frankly shocks all of us, because up to this point, we see no evidence that he was violent, but we saw lots of evidence that he was capable of being violent.
So again, he goes in. So sheriff also says there's no prior history other than having a suspended driver's license. There's no prior history of him being difficult with law enforcement. Just none.
And we also know that his radicalization has increased over the last 3 years based on his conduct, his ID card showing that he's a Moorish person. So why he decided to murder, we don't know, but we know that's not unusual when you look at the history just here on the I-4 corridor. And if you search up, you'll see that these folks that are Moorish and some of these other citizens, as they call themselves, have been violent toward law enforcement.
Well, like I said, Pope, you make a good point. Like, from what I've seen in my experience, custody issues, financial issues, foreclosure, and repeated criminal activity, or not knowing how to drive properly. Those are all the gateway drugs that lead you down this path. It didn't really sound like he had any of this leading up to it.
As you said, you don't want to publicize for sovereign citizens, but can you give us a better idea of how prevalent of an issue this is for your agency?
Well, there are sovereign citizens in every county, in every state in this nation.
Correct. I don't know what the updated numbers are. If I recall from the feds, I can't remember which agency posted it, whether it's the FBI or DHS. They in 2010 they put the estimate of sovereign citizens at 200,000. I feel like that has probably increased a lot. In my guess, it wouldn't surprise me if there's 500,000 now. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if it was up to 500,000 now.
Now, how many? We don't know. We run into them periodically. And usually it's on a traffic stop because they don't have a tag on their car. So you stop them to say, where's the tag on your car? They roll the window down about this far. And we say, wait, may we see your driver's license? I'm not showing you anything. And then they give you a quote like, I am not subservient to the laws of the United States or the state of Florida. You have no right to stop me and interfere with me. I'm a
UCC.
free man or a free woman. And they go into all this nonsense. And we thought it was one more of those. And then we very nicely, very professionally say, sir, ma'am, if you don't open the door, if you don't show us your driver's license, if you don't explain why you don't have a tag, we have to arrest you. I am not subject to the laws of the United States. And at that point in time, we say, ma'am, sir, please, if you don't get out of the car, we've got to take you out of the car. I am not subject to obey any direction by any law enforcement officer. And at that point, we take a...
Yeah, they go into a dialogue loop because they just go full-blown NPC.
We break the window out. We open the car door, we take them out, we put them in handcuffs and take them to jail. And that's what we were doing that night after he resisted us. He had time to think about it, why backup was coming. We didn't rush him. We didn't push him. We talked to him. We tried to communicate with him. He wasn't having it. He was Moorish. He was a sovereign citizen. He didn't have to adhere to the laws of the state of Florida or the United States. And then he shot my deputies, and then we killed him, graveyard dead.
Graveyard dead.
He had to know that was coming. There was a legion of deputies around him trying to get him to cooperate. He chose for us to shoot him. He made that decision. And we obliged him. And what we have now is we have 2 deputies that are significantly injured, critically injured, and their recovery will be months and months and months. And it's by the grace of God that they're alive. Fractions of an inch, and they would be dead. Anything else? Before I go, we've gotten several phone calls. polksheriff.org/donate. We've had people saying, we want to help. We know that, look, we're going to give them the best medical care. There's obviously their salaries are intact, everything's solid, but there's a lot of incidental costs that go along whenever someone gets killed, and we have people asking us, if you want to donate, we'll certainly split whatever donations in half. I had one man call me this morning and said, I'm sending you a check for $7,000. How do I do it?
Damn, that's
But
nice.
there's a lot of costs because parents, wives can't go to work and all kinds of issues. So if you want to donate, this is how you do it, to our charity, and then we'll in turn make sure they get the money. All right, God bless y'all. See you later. Keep them in your prayers, our deputies in your prayers, and also keep the dead suspect's family in your prayers because they are obviously distraught and have no idea that
Also
their son
true.
is capable of such conduct. Okay?
Also true. You know, I feel obviously for the sheriff's deputies and their families. They're they're still not, doesn't sound, that sounds, somebody posted a recent photo that says, seems like they're out of the ICU, maybe. I don't know if that's true or not. Hopefully that's the case and that they're doing better. But also just, I feel for the mom who is completely like in utter shock. I imagine that she had no idea what happened, you know. So a vintage bowling shirt? Oh god, what? Before I log out, Oh my god. It's like, it's like cringe, but I'd probably buy it, Sean. Anyway, I'd still buy it. One last thing, this was kind of like breaking today. No, let me post it. Let me so you guys can see the headline I have here. That the Biden administration plans to reclassify cannabis, which is a pretty big deal because I remember a lot of prior candidates, policymakers, politicians have promised this, but have never really delivered. But this is actually some pretty big news. So to try and give you guys the bare bones, under the Controlled Substances Act, the Department of Health and Human Services are allowed to classify narcotics into Schedule 1, 2, and 3. What that means in a nutshell, Schedule 3 means that the narcotic has a valid medical use and has certain benefits. So while it is controlled, it is generally, permitted, and there's a lot fewer restrictions on its application. So, for example, Schedule 3 right here says is Tylenol with codeine, steroids, and testosterone. They're controlled, but there is plenty of evidence of of accepted medical use. Schedule 1 is there's no accepted medical use and a high potential for abuse. Is there 4 and 5? I thought there was just 3. Okay, maybe I'm wrong there. Schedule 1 is like the tightest restrictions, period. So we're talking about meth, LSD, and heroin. Cannabis, since 1971, has been classified as a Schedule 1, which I feel like is a little bit. I feel like is ridiculous. I'm not one of those folks who thinks that that cannabis is like a miracle drug that can cure all ailments. I feel like I've seen that a lot from a lot of the advocates out there, that they really oversell the benefits of cannabis. But at the same time, I feel like there has been relegated, decent studies showing that there is some benefits to it. So putting 1 to 3, I think is pretty valid. And so what this would do, as the article says, that it will eliminate tax burdens for businesses where the drug is legal. For example, under the IRS, you cannot write off cannabis. Cannabis companies cannot write off things that they buy, and further, they cannot take business expenses. They cannot write off business expenses like a normal business would if you're in the business of selling cannabis. Putting this into a Schedule 3 would allow them to do that. It also actually, how now I don't think it would I don't think it will clip the issue of I don't think it'll fix the issue regarding the banking problems. I don't know if that's the case, because I think that more so requires a change in the actual federal statutes and federal prohibitions, right? Or maybe I'm wrong there. I thought that was Hmm. Okay, so here's what it is. Once the DEA formally makes this announcement, the marijuana industry will see immediate benefit, but with the DEA proposed rule change comes a public review that could lead to a challenge, perhaps even a change. Once that public comment period is concluded and OMB reviews the decision, Congress would be able to overturn the rule under the Congressional Rule Act. Okay, so they can actually overturn it if they want to. The Congress can't stop them from making the change, but they can overturn it. Democrats control the Senate with 51-seat majority, and for CRA to be successful, 2/3 of the House and Senate would be needed to support it, meaning the marijuana rescheduling would likely survive, right? Yeah, so Congress is trying to put in like Safer Banking Act and the HOPE Act. These would all also allow the Safer Banking Act would allow businesses to access traditional banking and financial services. So yeah, it would require for that hurdle to be crossed, they'd have to have legislation. But rescheduling is a fairly big deal. It would ultimately bring in mainstream pharmaceutical companies into the weed business in the states where it's legal, potentially. So it's a pretty big move, and if you're in need of better access to medical cannabis, it would be a benefit to you. So yeah, it's a fairly big deal. Is it an election year move? Absolutely. Will it actually affect anything? I don't know. Maybe. Anyway. Alexander, Republicans can try, but again, under this article, they don't have the votes to overturn it. How would it affect states that still list it as illegal? Not much. They would still unless the state statutes on drug possession explicitly refers to possession of a controlled substance classified as Schedule 1 is above 5 grams is punishable by X, Y, and Z. If a state words their drug possession statute like that, then yes, it can actually affect them, because the state is relying on the Fed's classification for their criminal possession statutes. I don't know which states do that. There might be a handful. I think there are a handful, but I can't say that for certain. But that would be the only way that they would be, that the states where it's still illegal would be affected. Anyway. All right, guys. I want to appreciate you guys coming in to watch. This is going to be it, though. Going to keep this nice and short and sweet for y'all. I apologize for the dead air while I was trying to search on that 2017 incident. But tomorrow I am probably going to be streaming Hi-Fi Rush on my gaming channel. I went and purchased it over the weekend. It was on sale. Heard it was really good. I played it last night. Probably play it again tonight. It's basically if Devil May Cry and Guitar Hero had a baby. That's my best description of it. It's pretty fun, but yeah, it's interesting. All right, thanks guys. I appreciate it. As always, take care of yourselves, and I hope you have a good rest of your evening. All right. So yeah, hit that like button on your way out, and yeah. See ya. Bye.